What's good, y'all? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0, keeping the action going with part 4 of the lyric breakdowns for Who Am I, which is the title track, or the first track off my sophomore album, Silk Made Vol.1. Alright, so yeah, just like I kind of predicted, this was probably going to be like a 4-part series, and yes, it did turn out to be a 4-part lyric breakdown. So yeah, again, this is like one of my most lyric heavy songs, in the entire album. So definitely like one of the longest breakdowns that I'll be doing. I definitely like wrote quite a bit for this song, and then a lot of the lines in the song had a lot of layers to them. So a lot to break down and unpack on this one. But as we go throughout the album, not the songs will a lot of the songs will have less complexity to them. I mean, not to say that there still won't be bars and on time, just all that good stuff. But yeah, this being like the opening track to the album, I had to make sure that I really went all in to kind of establish myself as the Spider-Man of hip hop. Know what I'm saying? So yeah, so we're getting right into it. This should be the final video, the final breakdown for this song. So yeah, after this we'll be jumping back into some figure reviews as well as some other content. So for all of you guys that have been tuning in lately, I just want to say thank you so much, man. Thank you for being patient with me. Again, I've been very busy with some significant stuff. I'll talk more about that in a later video, but I just want to thank you guys for being patient with me. And yeah, let's jump right back into it. So here we go. We're on the third and final verse of Who Am I right now. So this is basically picking up where we left off. So the next part to break down in the verse is the line where I say, "Feel the need to maneuver in silence. Sometimes it felt like I even had to hide the mask, like all eyes on me and the world was looking through a magnifying glass." So real quick, I apologize. This breakdown is kind of like cut off. I don't know if you guys are able to see it too well on my computer screen here, but apparently the screenshot that I took, this is from my Instagram, because again, the original doc that I had got I guess deleted or whatever. My computer did some kind of update and I can't get back to my WordPad. What's the word I'm looking for? My WordPad program that had like all these documents in it. So, but luckily I took screenshots and I've uploaded all this to my Instagram. So these are basically Instagram screenshots that you're seeing here. This one kind of cut off, but I can still like make out, what I was saying. So I'm basically just going to read to you the breakdown for this. So basically, I've always been the introverted type as explained in the first verse, right? And one thing about myself is I prefer not to tell people what I'm up to all the time. Now and then is okay, right? Especially if it's people I trust, but I enjoy working in silence and popping out with music or whatever I've been working on when I feel the time is right. In the comics and shows, Peter's often seen needing to hide his mask or some part of his costume at any given time very quickly. But even beyond this, mask in this line is meant to represent the figurative term as in to mask or hide something, particularly another persona. Rap has always been a huge confidence booster for me and allows me to express myself in the most raw and authentic of ways. As an MC, though, imagination and creativity is a big part of the content being said, and sometimes you fabricate to a degree to prove yourself iller than an opponent in rap. Before rap, I was more insecure in myself, so to hide the mask here means to strip away even that which gives me the power and hides my flaws, right? So rap. So because at the end of the day, if the world is examining my content closely, like one does with a magnifying glass, right, and blowing it up to see the bigger picture, I feel they would need to see me in my purest form, which was me before I got superpowers of rapping, right? So the Peter Parker me, if you will. And Peter has been caught several times trying to hide his mask and or suit in a moment's notice, right? So, yeah, that's basically what those lines meant. So, yeah, I was just glad that I was able to kind of get that rhyme scheme together. Um, I can't really tell you which scheme or like which rhyme came first, like as far as like had to hide the mask and magnifying glass, but I remember like kind of coming up with that scheme and thinking like, oh, like, that's a stroke of genius right there. But yeah, I really like how those couple lines came together. So again, feel the need to maneuver in silence. Sometimes it felt like I even had to hide the mask, like all eyes on me and the world was looking through a magnifying glass. So at the end of the day, that's just basically saying, you know, like obviously it's a metaphor for the Spider-Man persona, right? So if me, like as myself being like a Peter Parker, right? And I'm masking up, I put my mask on and my suit, go to save the day or whatever it is. But sometimes it felt like, I needed to be able to, take the mask off and let the world see me for me, like even though obviously it's a whole like secret identity thing, but I needed the world to be able to see me in my purest, rawest form, like at my most vulnerable, basically. Without all the, theatrics or like the mask, covering me up. And so I feel like, in order to make my music like really felt and truly, um, yeah, like really felt like heartfelt music, I felt like I had to be able to be vulnerable in my music and be very honest. So that's kind of like what that means. And then, if the world, because, the world examines music, they examine, a music artist's content and they look for substance and things that they can relate to. So I feel like, in order to truly connect with people, I had to be very honest in my music. So that was always a goal, is like vulnerability and honesty. And it's like they're examining it with a magnifying glass. They're blowing it up, trying to see the bigger picture or like what's beneath the surface. So that's what I had to do. All right, so that's that part. Let's see what we will break down next. I think the next lines. Let's see, what are my next lines? Okay, yeah, I think I know the next set of lines. So give me just a second here to find it, guys, because I got a bunch of different screenshots here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this should be the next one here. So the next part to break down is my rite of passage into the rap game despite my past. Global Q&A, and I just might answer many questions you'd like to ask. So breaking down that part, I've essentially earned my way into the game through years of working and polishing my rhyme game despite any past mistakes or sins I committed, right? So you can always have like that, regret kind of like hanging over your shoulder for any past mistakes that you might have made. And you feel like, sometimes you use that as an excuse to say like, oh, I'm not good enough, or like I shouldn't even, go for something. But for me, like that wasn't going to work. I said, you know what, like screw it. Like I've made my mistakes, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I learned from them. And the point in life is to move on from your mistakes and become a better person, not hold on to regret or guilt and just let that consume you. So, I put the work in, so I can proudly say that, I've held myself down, I've stayed humble, and, I stayed up, trying to learn rap as much as I could, listening to different artists, trying to develop my style. And I've definitely put in like a significant amount of work. Mind you guys, I've been rapping since, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I've been rapping since maybe like my freshman, sophomore year of high school, as far as like taking it seriously. So that's over like that's well over like 13 years at this point. So I've been putting in the work. So I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish, just by staying down and committing myself to that process. And then my goal with rap has always been to have pure conversations about things that lingered on my mind or unanswered questions, so that if others out there have been curious or felt the way I felt during the difficult times, they wouldn't feel alone and we could move towards solving some of these issues or items promptly. So, yeah, that was always my goal, is just, I've always admired lyricism for the fact that, it says something, like it speaks to the listener, and the listener can, like, even if the listener doesn't completely understand what's being said, they can kind of like feel it, like when they hear it, like they're like, like I can relate to that, or like, there's something about this line that resonates with me. And so that's always been like a great joy about writing for me, is, coming up with lines that people will hopefully like hear and be like, yo, like I get what he's saying right here, like, or at least I think I do, right? Like maybe I don't have the entire picture yet, but I can feel like what he's saying right here, and like how he said it, like it kind of like speaks to me. So, that's always been something I've admired about musicians and lyricists. So yeah, next part to break down says, now the people, like, for all that we know, he could have an alter ego. Even a burning building don't want the smoke with me like Las Vegas casinos. I love this bar. So this one was meant to definitely kind of like paint some imagery, but basically the secret is out now, right? That I am in fact the Spider-Man of hip hop. So Las Vegas is full of casinos, many of which are notorious for reeking of cigarette smoke, which I absolutely hate that smell. So the smoke is literally, the smoke is literally with you the whole time. I despise that smell, like I just said, but smoke is meant in the modern day sense of a synonym to beef. So a building that is on fire, which naturally generates smoke, or yeah, will naturally generate smoke. But Spidey has been known to put out fires on a regular basis around New York, right? So even that building, metaphorically, would want no problems with me. The ironic thing about it, though, as described in the following line, is that I spit fire with rap, so I'd be setting the rooms I rap in ablaze. It's an oxymoronic full circle event, right? So every time I step into a room, I start spitting some fire, right? I'm setting the room on fire, but at the same time, it's like I got to put the fires out. I can't, leave the people in danger. So if I, step in the booth or like into a room and I start spitting some bars, and next thing you know, the room's on fire, that fire is gonna spread obviously, and it's gonna, put innocent lives in danger. So I gotta be the person to put my own fires out basically. But yeah, I really love how like those lines came together, just like the whole metaphor of the building being on fire, and then smoke. Like you always hear that, especially like in rap. Like you don't want the smoke with me, or like Kanye said, I want all the smoke, right? So that's basically just like another term for like beef. I want all the problems or all the confrontation that people have for me. So yeah, even a burning building don't want the smoke with me like Las Vegas casinos. Because if you guys have ever been to Vegas and you walking through those casinos, man, oh, I absolutely it reeks of cigarette smoke in there so bad, and I absolutely hate that smell. But Vegas allows a lot of Vegas casinos allow like smoking, or at least they did back in the day when I was young. I remember I'll never forget like walking through those casinos and just smelling that smoke smell and absolutely hating it. But yeah, so so yeah, that was basically what all of that meant. All right, and the next part to break down. Let's see here. Let's see if this is it. Nope, that's not the one. That's not the one. My bad, guys. Some of these, yeah, I think some of these are a little bit out of order, so I gotta make sure I'm going in order here, so this will all make sense. Where is it? Where is it? Not that one. Is it this one? No. Let's see. Let's see. My fault, guys. It's harder to do this just because I had to go off of these Instagram screenshots. So, yeah, I don't know if I captured the entire thing I was trying to say right here. Let's see. Is there another screenshot I'm missing? Okay. Or let's see. Okay, yeah. So I think on this breakdown, I'm not sure if the screenshot I took captured the whole thing, but I'll basically just tell you guys what I meant by these lines right here. Just kind of do a little improv. Where'd it go? Sorry. It's one of these. Where'd you go? Where's that freaking screenshot? Okay. Well, anyways, we're just gonna we're gonna bypass that. Basically, the next line to break down is it goes record breaker, how I go defeating my enemies. The world wasn't prepared or aware of my secret identity. So, you know, that's meant to be, so record breaker is meant to be a double. So, um, record, like record as in like a music record, right? So if you've ever seen like a old like record player, that's basically what I'm referencing, like a record breaker. So like if you were to put my music onto like a vinyl or something and put it onto like a old school record player, I'm basically saying like, I would essentially break the record because the music is so good, right? The music is so fire, the record would end up breaking. Record breaker, how I go defeating my enemies. But then also like I'm breaking my own record like every time, I go up against like a villain or, whoever in my music, right? Any like opponent. Like I'm breaking my previous record with like, how quick I take them out or, how well, like, with the lyrical prowess. So that's kind of like the double with record breaker. And then the world wasn't prepared or aware of my secret identity, right? So just like Spider-Man, like nobody suspects in the beginning that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, right? Like everybody just would never think that those two were the same people, and then you find out later, and then it blows your mind, right? Like you can never unsee or forget that the fact that this nerdy kid that's this nerdy unassuming guy walking around ends up being like the guy that's swinging around saving the city. He has super strength and like doing all these heroic things, right? So the world wasn't prepared or aware of my secret identity. And then the next lines go from writing a 5-page paper to soaring by skyscrapers. I still had a fear of heights when I dived off the Empire State. All right, so I think I'm pretty sure I have the screenshot for that. Let me see if I can pull that one up just to make sure I don't, miss anything in this breakdown. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here we go. So yeah, basically, okay, yeah. So this kind of like picks off where I was just looking at, but um, as far as like that record breaker line, just like one more thing to add to that. If you think of an old school, like I said, vinyl record player, my music is on a high enough tier to possibly break that thing. Feel me? Right? You feel what I'm saying? So think of that line by Eminem in Lucky You where he says, "I sound like a broken record every time I break a record." Right? So like every time M proves himself on a track, it's like he's a broken record because like we know what to expect at this point. Like we already know Eminem is such a like top tier lyricist that we know pretty much any song he hops on, he's gonna end up like taking the whole song. Like there's that joke that like when you have Eminem on your song, it becomes his song, right? It's not your song anymore because he's so good. That's basically like the whole. That's basically what I'm saying about like my rhyming skills and style and whatnot. And then getting into the line, I still had a fear of heights when I dived off the Empire State. So I'm not sure how comic accurate it is, but I do remember seeing a post years ago on Instagram that in some Marvel universe, Peter got over his fear of heights by diving off the Empire State Building. So, I definitely wanted to kind of like throw that in there, into the song somewhere because I remember seeing an Instagram post. I could have swore I took a screenshot of it, but I remember trying to like look for it and I couldn't find it. But I do remember like seeing a post on Instagram, and I think it was like some like Marvel facts page or whatever, saying that yeah, like to I guess get over his fear of heights. At one point, Peter like literally dived off the Empire State Building. So I thought that was crazy, but obviously the Empire State Building is such a staple in New York, so I figured I had to throw it in there, and then you got all the references to it in different songs, right? Like Empire State of Mind. Like I think of like the Alicia Keys and Jay-Z song, Concrete Jungle Where Dreams Are Made of, right? So like that's a banger. But yeah, and so I had to make some type of reference to the Empire State Building in the song for sure. And then the next part to break down is the lines where I say, constantly evolving, inspired by Maguire, Garfield, and Tom Holland. Oh, hold up, my mom's calling. All right, so So, if you're a Spidey fan, you know what's up. So I've been a Spidey fan for as long as I can remember, and he is the one character I see myself in the most. And that means, of course, watching and studying the live action greats. I owe a lot to their performances, to my hip hop persona. The "my mom's calling" line is alluding to how Aunt May has a tendency to call Peter when he's out at very inconvenient times of being Spider Man in action. So, and then like a good, reference or example of that is like the Spectacular Spider-Man show. Like there's a there's a episode where he's battling Electro, and then it's like raining and whatnot, and he's supposed to be, I think his curfew is be home by like 10. And then if he's not, he's supposed to like call Aunt May and like let her know that he's gonna be like a little bit late, but he's on his way. And there's a part where he's battling Electro, and his phone literally starts ringing, and Aunt May is like, she's like, where are you at? And he's like, oh, I'm just, like he's like basically like giving her like a BS story about how he's like on his way or whatever, but he's like in the middle of battling Electro, fighting for his life. So I always thought that was like comical, so I thought I'd throw in like a little line about that. Obviously, I don't have an Aunt May, so I just thought, if anybody would be calling, it'd probably be like my mom or whatever, because my mom has that same type of motherly instinct as Aunt May. She wants to know like if I'm safe, if I'm gonna be home at a certain time. So, or at least she did, So, so yeah, I just thought I would throw in like a little funny line for that, but and then yeah, you can also think of like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 film when Aunt May like calls him and tells him to get eggs from the store. She needs some eggs, so um, so yeah, that's because like in the song, I basically like do like a little excerpt. My mom didn't want to be actually like have her voice featured in the song, so I didn't include her voice. I wanted to, but she didn't want to be like her voice to be on the track. So I just basically like inserted a little. So it's almost like a cartoon sound of like somebody talking on the phone, just like gabbing like really really fast, like just something like that to pretend like I was talking to my mom on the phone. And then like basically she was asking me for eggs or whatever, and I'm just like, okay. I was like, yeah, like eggs from the store, got it. Like anything else? And be like, all right, see you soon, love you, type type stuff. And I just hung up. And then so yeah, there's that. And then I think, how does the next line go? Okay, yeah. So this line, I might misquote it a little bit, because I haven't listened to the song in a while. But basically, like the following lines, like right after I hang up with my mom on the phone, I basically say something like, "I just took that call upside down. One hand on the line, high velocity. My backpack on," or yeah, I think I might say my backpack on first. I don't know. Sometimes I get that line out of order, but basically, I'm just painting the picture of me like basically swinging upside down, right, with my backpack on the phone with my mom. So I'm basically just like describing that image, and then I say, to be able to do all of that without even falling, like woo, and then I do like a little like like a yell or whatever, like woo, like like a little celebration of victory or whatever. And then we get into the next lines, which is where is it? Where is it? Where you at? Where you at? Let's see. Okay, yeah. And then the next lines go, "And tell the kingpin he'd better watch his back. Even with no powers, I bet you I could beat his thugs with adhesive gloves. Just leave it up to me. I promise I got this. Ain't none of you villains a threat. I'm ill and protect the citizens like Dylan Minnette." All right, so breaking that down, the Kingpin is one of Spidey's greatest foes in the comics as well as the animated series in the 90s. So it's only right that in my intro song I allude to his presence with this rap verse. One of Spider-Man's main powers is of course sticking to walls and surfaces. So as a flex, I am saying strip me of this ability and all my other spider abilities and replace them with basic human use gloves with adhesive ends. I would still be able to whoop his thugs' asses because they are no match for me on a street level, right? So like even if you were to take away my wall crawling powers or whatever, I'm still beating those bad guys up. So and I like that rhyme scheme, like how that rhyme scheme just I feel like that was like a really clutch rhyme scheme coming up with beat his thugs and rhyme it with adhesive gloves. So I really like that part, how that came together. And then what else? What else? And then Dylan Minnette is an actor famous for playing the role of Clay Jensen in 13 Reasons Why, which is, that show about suicide. I'm sure all you guys have heard of it at some point. While his character often gets a bad rap for being emotional or overbearing, in the end, he did look out for a lot of his classmates and picked up on things um, that were wrong with them early on. So, some of which arguably saved their lives. And as Spider Man, I share a lot of that intuitive nature. So, I have since I was a kid when I was just good old Devin. All right. So, yeah. So that's basically just like I wanted to basically give like a little shout out to Dylan Minnette because I think he did I think he gave a great performance for Clay Jensen in 13 Reasons Why. And yeah, I just figured like I felt like his personality was somewhat relatable to like Peter's as far as like having empathy and being able to sense like when things were wrong with other people and kind of looking out for them. So I just wanted to kind of like make a connection there. So and yeah, it just went well with the rhyme scheme. So yeah, and then the next set of lines to get into say. All right, so yeah, the next set of lines says, "Y'all better get the message quick and give these civilians a rest. Let them go, like a bar you held on to but realized was too simple to stretch." I really like these lines too. So I'm giving the bad guys a chance to walk away and let the innocent people free from the suffering or endangerment they are put through because of their selfish acts. Bar is a double because it means a literal bar that you physically hold on to and may stretch your arms out to hold on, and a rap bar because in battle rap or songwriting, um, a writer may have a bar that means one thing and then try to stretch it to make it sound better or to connect to another point that seems relevant. In battle rap, the audience will usually call this out and not be big fans of it, right? They'll call it like they'll say like, "Oh, that's a reach," or that's a stretch. I'm not totally against it as you can make it work effectively, right? Eminem, I feel, is one of the best at it because he bends words so easily. So a lot of times, like he might do like what battle rappers would call like a reach or a stretch, but I feel like he does it in an effective way, and usually like his delivery is very strong. So I feel like it usually works out for him. Not everybody can pull it off so well, but I feel like he does it, fairly well. And then I do it from time to time, so I'm guilty of doing like those, stretch, excuse me, stretch or kind of like reaches or whatever. But um, I feel like in most of the time I'm able to write it in like a clever way to where I'm able to like pull it off. So yeah, and then the next set of lines is, "A webhead is here for you. Trust me, I got problems too. Deadlines and dollars due. Ironically, I'm making headlines with all of you." So to break that down, it can be difficult coming up with money for certain payments in life at times when you have more expenses to cover, right? Obviously. And there's always a due date for something, whether it's bills, something for work, life events. You can't escape them. Headlines is a double because I make headlines in the newspaper, courtesy of the great J. Jonah Jameson, right? Who hates my guts. And I'm making literal rap lines in my head for both myself and the villains I face off against. So like in this album, right, I'm writing for not only like myself, like my perspective as Spider-Man, but also like my villains, right? So I'm basically like putting myself in the shoes of the villains that I face and writing lines that I think like they would say as like a retort back to me, basically, right? To kind of combat me. So and since I'm saying this line in my Spidey persona, it's like a break of the fourth wall in a sense. So it's almost like I'm literally acknowledging like the existence of me being in this like universe, even though I'm technically like outside of it, right? It's like breaking the whole breaking the fourth wall thing. So there is that. All right, and the next set of lines to break down after that, and we are just about done here, wrapping it up. Should be about around the last set of lines here. Let's see. Just want to make sure I'm not skipping anything, but I believe this is the next set of lines. If I happen to say this out of order, I apologize. You'll know if you've heard the song, but I believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the next set of lines right here. I only say that because I know there's like more lines before this. I'm not sure if I broke them down or not, but at least for my screenshots, this is what I have next. So the next lines to break down are: life's like an equation these days, and thank God I know the math. That's why I'm never holding back when I snap on them like my photographs. I'm a solo act, and I've been known to trap drug dealers before they even get a chance to hold the cash, right? So, to break that down, everyone is trying to figure out a formula for success in life. By that, I mean doing what they love, enjoying a fruitful career, and getting paid well for it, and overall living life to the highest vibration possible with happiness. I think Kendrick Lamar summed it up just about perfectly in the interview, in which he said that war, pain, and loss is going to keep happening in this world until we get back to the simplest word: love. And when God sees that, we will live and flourish in an eternity. I've noticed that energy always returns to you in life. And whenever I focused on the negative things in my life or worried about something bad that could happen, a lot of times it came true. I got to a state of always expecting the worst when I made mistakes. But now I know the opposite is true also, and that when your mind focuses on the good, you invite that into your life and things do begin to look up for the better. So I truly believe that God gives us free will, and that the ultimate lesson he wants us to learn is to focus on him and godly things, and we will see our lives quite literally begin to change for the better. And that spiritual and energy filled transformation will inevitably set an example for those around us, and watching until we follow suit and embrace the nature of this greatness, right? So that will lead to overall change in the world. Snap is a double meaning, both to go off on someone in the track and a snap, like a snapshot taken from a camera, right? So, snap on them like my photographs. And then Peter Parker is known for taking pics of himself as his alternate persona, Spider-Man, right, for the Daily Bugle. Spidey is also typically a solo act when pursuing superhero endeavors. And while he has his team ups, from time to time, the majority of what he does is usually alone. So, and then the word trap is another double, because the trap is typically a stash house, right, holding drugs being sold and dealt illegally. But those same guys are getting physically trapped by my webs, right, that I leave them in to seize such drugs and paraphernalia and whatnot. So, that's basically what that part meant. And yeah, wrapping it up, I think this will probably be like the last one right here. Last set of lines. So, a living no life shack reaction. That's tough. Creatively spazzing. You would think I imagined dragons with all this radioactive blood. See, I devised a plan, and I pray the Holy Spirit gives me the strength to do what only a fighter can. Gotta swing. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man. Alright, so to break this last part down, No Life Shack is a YouTuber who does reaction videos. I've been watching him for years now, maybe since 2017 or 18. His enthusiasm and energy is contagious, and he loves bars in hip hop, so naturally I had to follow his reaction journey. His trademark phrase when hearing a fire bar or noticing a message in the music is "That's tough." He says it like that, right? So I had to pay homage to the best in my Persona song, right? Imagine Dragons is a group whose songs I've really come to love. The first song I ever heard from them is Radioactive, which was a huge hit. The lyrics are awesome and the music bangs with beauty. Since Spider-Man's blood is radioactive due to the spider that bit him, it was the perfect tie-in. By the way, the remix with the Kendrick Lamar verse is impeccable. If you've never heard it, definitely check that out. I have to sign off the song by giving my thanks to God for placing this desire in my heart from the time I was a child, and these gifts that allowed me to refine my skills of linguistics. And I know that keeping hip hop alive means I may have to go to war with those who are exploiting it for personal gain and at the expense of the collective good of listeners. All I know is I am prepared for it. The title of the song was inspired by the question asked at the beginning of the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, as you likely noticed from the intro. And as a final signature, I tell you just who trying to match the same intensity portrayed by the live action stars. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's basically the finale of my breakdown. So I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. let me know what you think. Again, down below, let me know some of your favorite music artists, some of your favorite lyrics from them. Are you guys excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day? I'm super excited. So comment down below, guys. Let me know what you think about that. We'll have a conversation down there. But thank you so much, especially if you've made it all the way to the end of this breakdown series. I really appreciate you guys. Sorry for rushing things. I'm kind of running out of time, but I appreciate it. So yeah, comment down below. Let's talk about Spider-Man. Okay, sorry. I thought I thought the video was gonna cut off on me.